just push it to stop.
Guys, y'all can come up here and get these and realize that for every binder, there's one inside the binder because it was easier for me to pack. Is that?
Bleeding?
Nope, that's Natalie's. Yeah, I thought hers is pink. I don't know why you're looking for that color. You're looking for Alex's because it wasn't that color.
It's blue? Yeah, I do. Wait, never mind, I don't know. Hey, you're real. Yeah, it's blue.
My dogs are so tired of seeing these, by the way. They'll be so wondering tonight where my little, because this is what goes home with me with papers to grade or whatever. So when they see this, they know they're not going to get played with very much. That's my to be graded bag. And you won't get your score sheets till the end because I know you won't be listening to me the rest of the time if I give them back to you now. I treat you like adults, but sometimes I have to treat you like children because that's the way we all are officially. You a ginger ale man, Patrick.
Yeah, it's I really like them, especially this time of year.
Yeah. I saw a really cute morning, like Christmas morning thing, and had like ginger ale and like cranberry juice, orange juice, pineapple juice, all, and I'm like, oh man, that sounds really, really good. We made some at the beach this summer with Country Time lemonade and pineapple juice. That was really, really good. It's a combination. This is your drink. Take that one out. That's Lynn's. I double them up. It's easier to pack. So it looks smaller. So instead of 28, it was like 14. It looked like 14, but I knew better. All right. We are looking at PPGP today. I know this PPGP looks nothing like your old PPGP. So this is uploaded into this week of Moodle. You will notice that it's way simpler than old PPGP was. You all are going to have a little bit of trouble maybe or confusion adjusting to the fact that this PPGP you assess based on the INTAS standards and not on PGIS and KTS. So you are going to actually read these. Now, this is my opinion, you can do whatever you want. But as you're looking at your portfolio and that you have to self-evaluate your portfolio, right, based on standards, it may help if you, as you're evaluating your portfolio, decide whether you're I, D, A, or E. I wish they would have done EA, at least it would have spelled something idea. But realizing that may help you to realistically assess. Because if you're in the 2 range, and where we told you most of you, if not all of you, will be the majority of the time, then you're looking at developing. Even a teacher in the classroom for many, many years may not be all A's. And very few E's are going to come out of an assessment. So I just need you all to understand that and be okay with that. Unless you're in the classroom full time, you are not, I repeat, not going to be A's. Okay, maybe a couple. Now, I did talk to this morning, some of them, especially my A12s, and I'm not throwing off on you P5s because you're interdisciplinary. But, I mean, for Patrick over there and Ray, I mean, Patrick may be very strong in his musical content, so maybe his content knowledge, because he has a major in one subject, might be stronger than, say, what you all might say, because your all's classes have been split between English language arts, math, science, social studies. You've got a splattering of things, eclectic. He has been concentrated on one subject area. So he may feel he's accomplished in his content knowledge, okay? If you all have scored and taken your praxis subject area and you've passed all 4 subtests, you may feel very strong in your content knowledge, and I have no qualms with that. I figure you won't be accomplished in application of content because you've not been in the classroom to actually determine how well you can apply that content, but you may have the content knowledge. That's an area where I think possibly you could be accomplished. Probably not exemplary until you reach a master's level. Like if Patrick decides to come back and get a master's degree in music, then yes, maybe he goes to exemplary, okay? So you just need to be honest with yourself. It has nothing to do with your grade, and you need to learn how to be honest with yourself as well as teach your students to be honest when they self-assess. So you can do this as you score your portfolio, and it would be a twofer. Right, Taylor, McKenna? Remember the twofer? Yeah. So that you're not doing extra steps. So that may help. Now, when you get to the end of this thing, and in my opinion, you also either need the rubric to the portfolio up or that InTest document that I uploaded to Moodle at the very first of the semester, where it has a page for each one of the standards. You may want to use that. This is it, and you go, that doesn't look like the PPGP I know it doesn't, because I questioned it yesterday. I said, Dr. Magruder, are you sure this is the PPGP? And she goes, yes. So, what I did was I had to talk with Dr. Hamilton because I want Cap 3 and Cap 4 to mimic each other. So what you do this semester is exactly what you'll do next semester when you're more independent and on your own, okay? So, we have decided that you need 2 goals, okay? You need 2 goals, because that's what he requires in Cap 4, so I think, all right, we're going to mirror that in Cap 3. We suggest that you don't choose 2 goals from the same standard. So you need to go 2 different standards. So you don't need 2 goals from, say, standard 7 or 6 or whatever. You don't need to go back and put Cap 2 in here. So you don't have to go back and put in Cap 2. Not necessary. So you're going to start in the Cap 3 box. The same as you don't have to go back. How can you go back right now and self-assess in tasks from Cap 2 from 300? That's ridiculous. So do not even think about filling in scores for Cap 2, even up on a self-assessment, okay? You're at Cap 3, that's where you are. Now, you will notice that it says standard, so you will actually copy and paste either standard 7, what it is, or 6, or 3, or 2, whatever. Indicator. Indicator level is on each one of those pages for a standard. There was a performance, there was a knowledge, and there was a disposition. You remember those 3 areas? And some of the standards went from like A to P or Q or R. You need one of those indicators that you want to concentrate on for that box. Once again, this is a copy-paste thing. But you need to really think strongly about where do you want your goal to be, in what indicator. Then, in this box is where you will actually write your goal. Okay, now you can split this any way you want. This morning, some people were splitting these boxes into goal 1, goal 2 for each one. It's up to you, okay? Organization is up to you. Now, do you remember what the acronym SMART stands for, or do you remember any of the letters?
Specific.
S is specific. Can we start there? When you copy and paste the indicator in the middle box, you need to pick specific words out of that indicator that you want to grow on, and that's what goes in the goal. Don't rewrite the goal. Just pick the words straight out. Now, let's say the indicator has la 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 la, either this, this, or this. You don't have to pick all three. You just maybe pick one of them. Or maybe it says you will do this and this, but you can't work on both of them at the same time. You may only choose one half of the indicator. Okay? So your goal, look at me, does not need to be that long. Okay? Does not. So you need to be very specific and only choose the parts of that indicator that you wish to work on. You can't do the whole thing. Y'all can't put a whole piece of pie in your mouth at one time. Maybe Derek could, but we won't talk about that. But you only can pick off so much, so don't bite off more than you can chew, is what my grandmother used to say. Okay? Or don't put more on your plate than you're willing to eat. Because my husband was big on cleaning your plate. You had to eat everything off your plate. So, what is it? Your eyes are bigger than your stomach? Is that what my grandmother used to tell me? Because I put too much on my plate and then I can't eat it because I think I really want it. Okay? So be very specific. Okay, what's another letter? M is measurable. Okay, so somehow or another you're going to have to determine how this time next semester you're going to decide whether you met your goal or not. Remember how I told you on your lesson objectives that they need to be measurable so you know whether the kids met it, went over it, or went below it? That's the measurability I'm talking about here. Now let's talk about measurability because last class they kept saying, how do I make this measurable? Okay. You can say at least once a week. And you may look at the end of the semester when you get ready to evaluate your goals and you may say, I did this I recorded 18 times where I did this and I student taught for 15 plus weeks. So yes, I met at least once a week. So you can do something like that. Or you may say, I want to make at least a parent contact at least once a week, or I want to have at least a minimum of this many contacts during my student teaching. Another way you can make it measurable is that you can make sure that at least all of you in here will have minimum of 8 formal observations. 4 from your university supervisor and 2 each, Spock. 2 each from your cooperating teachers, which makes a total of 8. You could say that you want to look at your scores from your formal observation in at least half of your formal observations. So maybe at least 4 times out of the 8 times you're evaluated, you would ask your university supervisor or cooperating teacher to watch for. You know that box down there y'all never know what to do with? Well, when your supervisor comes or your cooperating teacher formally observes you, you can put in there, I need you to watch for this, and then it becomes 1 teach, 1 observe on that particular lesson. So if you're working on a strategy, or you're working on differentiation, or you're working on an assessment type, or physical proximity, or you're working on something, you can literally say, will you please monitor how many times I do this, or where my questions are going, and then literally you will have data. And you can also look at your score after that observation. I'm just giving you some ideas, and I'm telling you that your journal is your best friend here, because your journal and your formal observations are your best indicators of documenting your growth goals. I have had student teachers that actually, when I was doing student teaching, I would have the students copy and paste their professional growth goals in the front of their journal so that they were always first and foremost in their mind. And then I've had some student teachers who would highlight anything that goes with growth goal number 1 in pink, and highlight everything that goes with growth goal number 2 in yellow. So as I go through my journal reflections or whatever, I can see, hey, there's a pink, there's a yellow. That's a time where I actually reflected or did something based on my growth goal. Because in education, if you don't write it down, it didn't happen. You have no evidence that it happened, okay? So I'm telling you, your journal becomes your best friend. I've harped on it for 2 semesters, and that's the reason. Even in student teaching, you're gonna be writing in that journal every day. It's gonna become documentation for your days. State law requires that you student teach a minimum of 70 days, 35 in each placement. You can't go to placement 2 until you have 35 days in placement 1. Okay? So you're gonna document day, like this is day 5, this is day 10, this is day 15, 17, 21, whatever. So you're gonna document your days. He'll also tell you that the university requires 16 weeks. So what's 16 times 5? 80. How many days did I say minimum you have to have? 70. Is every week 5 days? No, like I can tell you, the 3rd week first week won't be full. I think it's 2 days. Week 1 is only 2 days. It's a Thursday and a Friday, if I'm not mistaken. And about week 3 is only going to be 4 days because Martin Luther King Jr. Day is on that Monday and you don't go to school. And then in February, there's a week where President's Day is on that Monday, and you can't count spring break week because you're not there. And you don't get our spring break. You don't get 2. You get 1, okay? If you have a snow day, if you have 2 snow days, then a week may only be 3 days. But you're getting 16 weeks. Does that make sense? So literally your journal becomes documentation that I have my correct number of days and I have my correct number of weeks. Now what you have to do is every day you do that running record that I harp on so much. You only have to analyze and reflect in paragraph form 2 days a week. So if you did something specific today that involves your professional growth plan, I would reflect that day so that I have documentation I did it. That's one way that I would choose which days I analyze and reflect and which days I don't. Especially if it has something to do with my goals. Okay? So that's how you can make things measurable. Okay? So we got the S and the M. What else do you know out of those letters? A is attainable or actionable. What are the actions you're going to do? Such as I'm going to ask in my formal observations for my for feedback. I'm going to document in my journal every time I do this. I'm going to look for articles on this because I'm needing more information on it. Or I am going to interview teachers around my school that aren't my cooperating teachers, and I'm going to get information from them, those kind of things. Or if you know there's something you're going to get to go to with your cooperating teacher, you may document that. You can also say it's going to be on my professional involvement log because you will continue that next semester. It will be on my communication and collaboration log. That's where you continue that next semester. Those 2 logs continue. So you could say that you're going to document it there. So yes, it needs to be actions. What else? You got the R and the T. Realistic. Please don't say you're going to do something 3 times a week if it's not realistic that you do it 3 times a week. Okay? And you may say I'm going to do this at least once a week. And 1 week you may skip, but I may have done it like 20 times and you were in there 16 weeks. Does that mean you did it at least once a week? Yeah, it averages out. Make sure it's realistic. You're not putting something that's like you can't get to the moon and back in that amount of time. Which leads me to the T, which is time. So the way you need to start your goal is by Cat 4, you've taken care of the T. By Cat 4, I will blankety blank blank, which is coming out of the indicator, by once a week, whatever, and then underneath it, I would put a couple of things that I'm going to do to document that. Are you following me? Then you will need to do that twice for 2 different goals. Now, I have something for you. Some people will pitch this, and that's okay. Some people, I will be their best friend right now. Others of you just really don't care, like neither or neither, okay? But this helped me, and I thought if it helped me, it might help you. I get a little flustered at the end of the semester. I know y'all don't believe that. But I have to make lists like Santa, and I have to check them twice. So while I made the list, for me, I made a list for you.
I love this, thank you.
You're welcome. I tried. All right, this week on Thursday, you will see inverted assignment number 9. All you have to do is what you're doing in class today. You have to copy and paste your goals and what you're gonna do into a Word document and send it to me. Got it? That way I can at least see where we're heading, okay? So it will help me keep up with all of you. Portfolio is due on Friday. I'm asking Dr. Magruder as far as what the cutoff date is. You have to send me a link. I already have the spreadsheet already with all your names and your certification area. All I gotta have is a link, and I copy and paste that sucker right in there.
What about the folder itself, like with the paper? That's what usually in the semester chapter. Sorry.
Yeah, Cap 3 folder, baby. Cause I had that at 8 a.m. this morning too, yes.
You gave this to me.
Yes, Cap 3 folders right down there. And please, no dispositions go in your portfolio. I know it's on that list. But you do not need to be asking for dispositions right now because faculty members won't give them to you because we're asked not to do dispositions until the end of the semester. I'm not sure why it's on there, but it's also a matter of FERPA. I mean, that is a privacy issue, and you don't need to display dispositions across your website. Now, if you want to do your own self-disposition as a fact of professional involvement or whatever, that's up to you. But as far as dispositions, that's Cap 3 paperwork. I would not put a disposition on my website for all the world to see. Unless it's part of your management plan and your code of ethics, and this is what I agreed to do, and this is where I think I am, those kind of things. I wouldn't display that. And once again, everybody in this building is told not to do dispositions until final grades are in. So you're not gonna get hours because we do them on a spreadsheet. Does that make sense? Because I cleared that up this morning too, and I'm sorry if that has been a source of anxiety for you, okay? I apologize. This is not what we intended. But your Cap 3 folder is due on Thursday, December the 6th, when you all come in for your orientation to student teaching with Dr. Hamilton. You will bring me your folder. I will check it like Santa does. If there's something missing, I will email you and say, hey, you're missing this. But I'm gonna tell you what happens. On December the 11th, I pass those Cap 3 folders on to someone else that is much higher up the chain than me. And if that person gets a hold of them and they don't have that document, then they're gonna send you a letter that says you have not been approved because you're missing, I don't know, background check or physical or TB or whatever, okay? And you cannot student teach unless you get a, hey, you've been approved for Cap 3 letter. Let me also remind you that this university closes on December the 23rd at noon. So if we do not have papers by the 23rd at noon, you probably won't be in your placement on January the 2nd or 3rd because the university closes until January the 2nd. So there will be no way to submit anything between 23rd at noon and January the 2nd. Okay? Sometimes students, if background checks don't come in and things don't happen, they're not allowed to start their placement until we get all the paperwork in. Okay? So that's on that Thursday. You bring all that to me and I go through it. Now, like I said, if I see you're missing something that I know you maybe just didn't put in there, I will email you and say, hey, you're missing this, because I would prefer for you to bring it to me than for the person to send you a letter in snail mail and tell you you need to turn something in. I like to alert you ahead of time that you're missing something, okay? So, good question, Mads, but those dispositions do not go in there.
It goes into all three of those dispositions, the self, the collaborating teacher, and the one from the CU faculty goes in the folder, not the website.
CU faculty, no, we do everything on a spreadsheet,
Okay, so I don't need to worry about that. So
No.
collaborating teacher and my own goes in the folder.
yes. Now, Patrick and Ray, a little different, they have to go outside CU faculty, they need one from their major, but we have those. But you guys, because you're an ed major, all of your content faculty's right here, am I right? And like I said, we are told not to do dispositions until the semester is over. Because we do them every semester. And if you've got something less than a 3, you've already been contacted and told you do. Because that's the whole point of the dispositions, okay? Next week on Tuesday, your co-teaching lesson number 1 is due. Can I please ask a huge favor from you? That you run that lesson plan all in one document when you upload it. So it's like you run it all together, you copy and paste it all together and upload it once instead of uploading the lesson and then the reflection document and then the formative assessment with student work, so that I only have to open up one document and I can see the whole thing. You will bring me your score sheet that you did self-assessment and peer reflection. You will bring that to class on the 20th and hand it to me. And that's what you will get back with your score on it. Okay?
Do you want videos of these lessons too?
No. Now, if you want to upload one of those in your portfolio, yes, but I only want the lesson plan and the reflection. Good question. Okay?
Breakfast is 27th, right?
Yes.
That's all that matters.
That's important.
Well, and I did put it on there because the 20th I'm taking 8 a.m. and on the 27th I'm taking you guys. So I did put it on there because I didn't want everybody to get confused as to which day you got. That's breakfast.
I had it wrote as 20th from before.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
want to make sure.
I wanted to switch that. You will have one more inverted assignment on the 27th. Your third exam and your journal is due on the 29th. Now let me tell you why I'm doing that. I need to get your field hours in so that you're first into the database and we can make sure that we can run a field report and know that you have your 200. Okay, I need to know that before your Cap 3 folder comes in on December the 6th. So my goal is to get all of the journals and things done before finals week. Only way to know, all my other classes are getting postponed to the next week so that I can put all my focus on you guys and make sure you're ready for the turnaround. Your second co-teaching lesson is due on the 30th, same way. You won't have any peer review or self-assessment there. You simply upload your second lesson there. And then I told you that your orientation and Cap 3 folder go on December the 6th. You don't need, and I think I told you that at the beginning of the semester, you all do not need to print transcripts, because on December the 11th, after all grades go in, I print a transcript, so there's no need for you to print one and then me to throw it away and print another. I get your GPA off that.
What about our graduation audit? We can do track from our advisor and get a copy of that.
You should already have a copy of that.
I mean, it's in the advance.
Yeah, because actually student records sends you a copy and them a copy, so, yes. And trust me, they won't do a second one. They've been very blunt and plain about that.
For the field report, we just get on there and print one ourselves, right?
We have the direct keystrokes that you need to make in order to print the summary from KFETs that we need. So I will give you that closer to time to turn that in. And then your EPSB sheet you've got from the first of the semester. And then, I'll print your field form, and that's why I need to get all of the hours in before I print the final field form.
That's what I thought.
You print KFETs, I print hours.
Okay.
Got it?
And our PPD log that we turn in from our portfolio, I know they just recently changed their.
Professional involvement log, you don't need to worry about number of PPDs.
Alright, so we don't have to like go back to our backlog and add, what was that?
The only thing I would add on my professional involvement log is something that you think helps in your portfolio score to show that you have indeed had professional involvement. That's the only thing I would go back and add. Like, I've told them if they were in 390, go back and add that live scoring because it is definitely professional involvement. It shows that. It shows collaboration and whatever. But I would not suggest you go back and add just idle PPDs that you had here and there and everywhere. Only if they show involvement.
So they can be any two that show, any two from any that we've gotten that can show that we.
I would, in order for the portfolio, I would want more than 2 on there.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, we are not on the cap 3 gonna go back and check to see that you have 30, nor are we gonna go back to see how many you had and add 2 more to it this semester. But you're simply supposed to be checking that with your advisor
Okay.
when you schedule, okay? So like when all my secondary majors came in, I asked for the professional involvement log, and then I looked online to see if the names were indeed, because we take attendance at those. So it's up on a spreadsheet and we can check. Okay? But as far as professional growth goals, you need to, like I said, there's lots of ways that you can measure them, there's lots of ways you can document them, but I would make sure that my goal was specific enough that there's a way to measure it and determine whether you've met it or not met it. And the journal is your best bud, your professional involvement and communication and collaboration log for next semester, and this semester is a good involvement, and whenever you are formally observed is good. And those are the things I would look to. If you're working on content knowledge, it may be passing your praxis subject area. There would be things you could do to make sure that you get that accomplished. Do you have questions for me? What I'm gonna do is I am gonna let you work just like I let 8 o'clock work until about 10:30. And then I will give you your score sheets back on your classroom management plans and address specific whole class feedback. And then if you want specific feedback based on yours, then I will do that as well. Okay? All right, Mallory, I see you brought something. Did somebody need a Chromebook today? Because I have a Chromebook. Everybody? You need one, right? Got it. All right.
Patrick, is there a plug-in near you? Oh my gosh. Will you see outreach? I don't know if I will. It's not looking like it. I may have to move to the booth. I'm gonna move over here and move our stuff over here. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Patrick.
Sorry. He told me when I finished to ask you.
That's fine.
You're interested? Oh, I'm like, I thought you were sitting here wanting to binder. I'm like, well, child, is it red or green? Okay, explain what, baby,
I'm just a little confused.
about what? Point me in the right direction.
I just don't know, like, I know we're supposed to be putting our goals in here, I got
Right.
it. And it's
In that
supposed to
top
be,
box, you need like, if, let's say, if you wanted, standard number 7, you would copy and paste 7,
The whole standard,
yes.
okay.
So.
And then in the next one, you would go to the specific indicator off that document that I gave you. Yes,
Copy the black words.
Yes.
The box.
or you can also, if you go up on the PPGP document,
Yeah.
you will see all 10 standards. You can
Ah.
work smarter, not harder, copy and paste,
Mhm.
and then go to the specific indicator. You may determine it's more performance in the classroom, or it's more knowledge, or is it dispositional. Copy one of those.
Okay.
And then in the bottom box, you will literally say, by Cap 4, I will, and you pull the specific words out of the standard, that indicator that you want, and then you start making it measurable.
Box 1 and 2 is copy and paste. Yes. I like this.
So we need 2. You just need to start standing back here. We can
Okay?
communicate
You
like
need
this.
to look in my eyes,
We're
look
good,
around.
we're good, I'm good now, we're good.
Alright,
Yeah.
So since it's by Cap 4, then it should be done by June?
yes, Cap 4 is next semester when you do this again.
Okay, so
So
we have
you
like
do this whole
student
process
teachers
again, next semester when you do your Cap 4 portfolio, you will say,
Whoop.
your Cap 4 goal will take you into your first year of teaching.
Okay, so when we say we're gonna document in our journals, that we're gonna student teaching journals?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just highlight these, if that's okay.
Yes. Yes. But the goal you make next semester at Cap 4 will take you into your first year of teaching, and one of the very first things they'll ask you to do when you get your job, in the first weeks of school, is they'll ask for a professional growth plan. So what you can do is simply take Cap 4 goals and move them over to your professional growth plan. It's already one less thing on your first year of teaching. Also with your website, one less thing you have to do, you just take your portfolio stuff off there. I'd leave my management plan on there though. I would take the other stuff off, and you've already got your teacher website done. So 2 things off your list when you get your first job. My management plan and my website and my professional growth goals are already ready. Now you may tweak the management plan, especially once you know the school and certain things you may need to edit or whatever, but ultimately, you got 3 things off your checklist for the first year that you teach. That's where we're trying to make this more relevant and more realistic. You're not just doing busy work, which is what, in my opinion, the old portfolio used to be, busy work. And I'm not about busy work. I got enough to do. I am so glad to get rid of this box. Oh yeah, cheer stuff came in this. I'm not gonna stand over your shoulders, I'm simply gonna be here if you have questions or you need me. But I don't want to get in your way or be a distraction.
class is so different than 8 o'clock, it is just really funny. You don't have to take those out, Matt, you don't have to, you can listen to the music and not me, I'm cool with that. But you do remind me of Kayla last class, she had her earbuds in, so. That's okay. No, that's fine, guys, this is work time, I'm simply here as a facilitator, and I'll do whatever you need me to do.
I do have a question.
Okay.
The management plan. Let's see, I noticed when the 4,000 physical space, if we created our own.
You just need to make sure that you say that, and you can't, because when somebody scores that, they assume that you got that somewhere, but you need to document that, hey, I created this myself using what program did you use and whatever. Because as of right now, somebody would say, you didn't cite this, where did you get it?
Okay, so we can just like type right underneath the picture that we created that.
Or put it in the narrative.
Okay.
We can actually.
The narrative would probably be better. Make sense?
Yeah.
I'm looking at number 10, 10C,
Okay,
and it's the teacher engages collaboratively in the school-wide effort to build a shared vision of supportive culture, common goals, all that stuff. Would that be like the student-led conferences that Campbellsville and Lieutenant schools do? Like, could I say that I participate in those? Cause that's like,
but it wouldn't necessarily be a growth goal. I mean, because that's too narrow. I mean, it would be, if you're doing that, it would be more than one thing. Or if you were to actually be asked to head up the whole thing, then see, it would be both leadership and collaboration. But that, I will be honest with you, 10 will be very difficult to pull off as a growth goal because you no longer do a leadership or a collaboration plan.
okay.
So I think what you're thinking is correct, and I would put it on my professional involvement log or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's too narrow to show growth in simply for that one thing.
Okay.
And then once, like I said, you finish your goals today or whatever, you can just simply copy and paste and upload them to Moodle, and then you don't even have to worry about it Thursday.
So, just to clarify, in the growth goal box, which is the last one, 5 tab 4, I will.
And then you pick the words specifically out of the indicator, and then you need to list a couple of like how you're gonna document it, how many, how you making it measurable, those kind of things.
Okay.
Yes. Taylor, you engaged?
She is.
You engaged? Are you engaged? Are you, Mallory?
As of Sunday.
Aw, see, I'm noticing rings I haven't seen before, I'm sorry. I'm like, wait a minute, these people have got rings on I have not seen.
Not that I'm wearing a ring, but I had them for a year, so.
Yay! Well, see, I can't see the other half of you. I mean, I see her sometimes, but I don't see her personally, so, yeah. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to,
It's okay.
I just saw that, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm seeing a ring there, and then that one starts flashing at me over there, I'm like, I'm seeing rings here. Okay. Patrick, where's your sister right now?
She's in Louisville right now. She was working at Maryhurst for a while, and
wondered, I haven't seen her in a while, so I just kinda wondered.
Yeah, she got her degree in PR.
Man, I knew it was something, and then I kinda kept up with her for a little while, and then all of a sudden I hadn't heard from her. Okay. Now, is she the same age as, how old is she?
She's 3 years older than me.
So she's in between my girls then,
Mhm.
cause then Russell's 29.
Yeah, she'll be, 25 next year.
Okay, so she's in between my two, okay. Now, did you and Tyler graduate together?
Mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
And y'all listen to the same music?
Huh?
Y'all listen to the same music?
Oh, no, I've got Arlington.
Well, I don't know, y'all started looking at each other and I'm like, are they?
What are you listening to? Hold on, let me tell you.
Brain food. And it's just high school,
No, okay.
I don't know. I can't have anything with
Does
words.
it say Lil Wayne?
Lately, I've been working towards Hallmark movies, cause they just run constantly on my TV, and I just grade. I sit on the couch and grade and listen to Hallmark movies.
We don't get homework here, so I watch the Lifetime.
So,
But those are my.
they just added the movies and mysteries back onto my TV package, so now I'm getting, so I'm just flipping between to see which movie I want to watch, yeah. I just like noise in the background when I'm trying to work. Well, I do too. It makes me feel more lonely, but that's okay. At least I get a little bit of warmth while I'm watching the movie and thinking, it could happen to me. And I'm going, yeah, no, not gonna happen to me.
So just, that's what you want, like goal 1, goal 2, and just say you copy.
Sure,
paste.
yes.
Okay.
Perfect. I can do that.
For tab 3, when we are filling out our crisis scores, do we need to attach a ticket, like for the PLT, if we haven't taken it yet?
Yes.
Will we sign up for it?
Yes.
Okay. And
The policy states that you will either have taken it or you will have a ticket for the next available test after this semester.
Okay.
Because like music is only offered like 3 times a year, so they may not even, there may not even be a test offered.
Yeah.
So they would just be required to have a ticket for the very next time it's offered. Social studies is the same way for high school.
So what about, like, if I've got a retable, do I need to have that ticket printed out?
No, not necessarily. The policy is you've taken it or have a ticket to take it. So if you've already taken it, then you actually have scores and you fulfilled that particular part of the policy.
So in that situation, do we need to write the date that we took that test?
Yes,
then
and attach the scores, yes.
So on here, like, we write our passing scores. Do
Yes.
so I didn't pass the social studies part of the.
But you still put on there that you took it so that we have evidence that you took it, yes.
Do we need to put the score that we
Yes,
made?
yes, because that lets us know that still has to be taken.
Okay.
And social studies seems to be a problem a lot of the time. Plus, the high school social studies test is a bear as well, because it's too broad. There's too many categories, and it spreads spreads your mind and you can't focus on any one particular, we just found it difficult. Yes, ma'am.
If I'm taking my PLT Thursday, do you think I'll get my scores back before the semester's over?
I doubt it, but you would just need to put the date and the fact that you took it, and then hopefully the scores will come back, but we don't know for sure. That's what Hunter was asking this morning too, because he's taking and he's waiting.
Yeah.
And it depends on whether you're at the beginning of the testing window or at the end, because there's testing windows where they verify scores, and it depends on where you are in the cycle, how fast you get your scores back.
Am I still supposed to bring them to y'all whenever I get it, or do y'all get a copy too, don't you?
Well, the thing is, the CAP 3 application, you need a copy of any scores that you have, it just speeds up the process, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Online, it tells you like what your testing window is and then what date the score comes out.
It does?
Yeah, it's on there if you search.
Well, if you see Hunter, will you please tell him that, because he was asking me this morning, I told him, I don't know what the testing window is right now, so I'm not sure how to advise him, because he's trying to determine if, his will be back. Because the PLT takes time because of the constructive response.
So we should just keep our ticket in there anyways?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
The fact that you took it and, in education, I always like to keep evidence and verifying. I don't like to throw anything away unless I know I've got another way to verify whatever it is.
Okay.
I have trouble throwing away. I still have stuff from last semester from students, but I keep being afraid to throw it away because I'm afraid something will come back and I need. Yes. So that's why my office looks like it does, because right now I'm waiting to try to destroy stuff in the shred box, because I got a pile about that high that nobody ever came back for. Yeah.
What's your testing window?
So on, the rationales for the 10 standards, it shows connection between standards and artifacts. Does that mean on each artifact that we turn in, we list like which standard it's?
No, the rationale, you should determine which artifact you think best represent your proficiency at that standard.
Okay.
So, if I grade your portfolio, and then I'm missing some things, what I do is I go read your rationale.
Okay.
No, Patrick wants me to look at this because this is what he's looking at in terms of this. Then I go back and make sure I didn't miss anything or misinterpret.
Would you do like a Word, like just its own Word document for rationales?
Yes, that's what I would do. Not everybody does, and for evaluator's sake, I would run all rationales in one document.
Okay.
Yes, and separate them with rationale 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. But usually I score, and everybody does it differently. I read every day, and I make notes. And then if I can't find something, I go read my rationales to determine, okay, what did I miss? What did I not read the way they wanted me to read it, whatever, so that I don't miss any gaps. So in the rationale, if it were me, I would say, for this standard, you should be able to look at these documents, and then in the next paragraph, I would tell what those documents are and how it demonstrates my proficiency.
Okay.
Okay, so we're uploading our unit as like a thing that's part of it.
Yes.
So when we mention a unit in a rationale, we don't need to upload that with the rationale.
No, you just say, look at my unit. Now, I would suggest, like with units, if you came to the PPD, that I would run all of my unit documents in one, and then each one of my lesson plans in a separate one by itself. Does that make sense? Like, here's all my unit documents in one upload. Okay, here's lesson 1, everything you need for lesson 1. Lesson 2. Then, let's say that for standard 7 in planning instruction, you really want me to see lesson 3 of your unit.
Upload that with the rationale.
No, you just say, in lesson 3 of my unit, and then I'm gonna go focus on lesson 3 if I did not see that. No, don't upload anything with your rationales, just, it's like pointing the way to where you want me to go look. And if you want me to go, oh, in my video lesson, in the formative assessment, you will see this, or in the unit document, you will see this in my analysis and reflection. But don't upload them again. Upload everything one time, and only one time, and then run your rationales together. Point us in the direction.
Can you explain that one more time, because I caught half of that?
Okay, when you upload like your unit, you would upload all of your unit documents together.
Yes.
and then lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, whatever, okay? Then in my rationale, if I want to pinpoint something specific in my unit documents, I just say, in unit document analysis and reflection, you will see this, or in lesson 3 of my unit, you will, but you don't upload that document again,
Okay.
you just reference it. Rationales are references. Where do you want me to go look?
Okay,
It's like a map.
okay.
I guess would be my best analogy. It's a map.
If there's any way, if I can like hyperlink it,
I wouldn't.
you wouldn't? Okay.
No.
I'm not going to today.
Well, and the reason being, I mean, I've already looked at those documents. The only thing I will do is if you, if I missed it and I really didn't see what you were alluding to, then the rationale's gonna tell me to go back there.
Okay.
Taylor, are you using the Google website? There's a way that you can just upload it from your drive and it shows the Word document on it.
Like, that's what I did.
You want me to show you?
See,
I have not, I've put
Yeah.
some stuff on it.
And then they can just scroll on
put it
that.
into my Google Drive and then, yeah, once.
And then it's all submitted as
A website.
a,
Yes. And then those are pages that I can go to.
So,
Now, when you get your first job, once again, all you do is just take everything off except the management plan and maybe my resume and my bio, some of that stuff, and then you're ready to start uploading your stuff for your classroom in the school that you're in. That's why we went to a website, is so that it served a purpose and it wasn't just a collection of documents, but it had more relevance.
So I uploaded from Drive, and then I'll take it to your Google Drive, yep. You just click on it and then insert it, and it shows up. And then it'll upload.
but my question is, if I put my rationale here, do I need to put my documents that correspond with that, or relate to that on this rationale? Or that will just.
You
go
just
back-
list them, you don't, I mean, I'm not gonna click on all of them unless I miss something.
Okay.
I mean, you can do it, whatever, but I'm just saying, what I don't want you to do is upload the same documents 3, 4, 5, 6, 7
Yeah,
times.
that's what I was,
No,
that's what
they
I.
only need to be uploaded once and then we can keep going back and forth and reference them, that's no problem.
So if we upload a lesson, like in rationale 3, and then we use it again in rationale 7, in rationale 7, do we need to say that the lesson is under rationale 3?
Well, that's why I'm telling you not to put them with the rationales. The rationales should be separate documents. The only thing they're doing is in like standard 3, you want me to go look at a specific lesson. You just tell me what lesson you want me, that this is demonstrated in. But there's no reason to upload that lesson again with that rationale.
Right, we'll just put it on one rationale.
No. A rationale should really have no hyperlinks in it whatsoever. You're just simply telling us where to look.
Okay.
And because what we don't want is that when we look at a rationale, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I don't, when I read rationales, I'm just simply looking to make sure I got everything. Now, if I miss something, I'll go back to that document. But I don't want you to upload your video lesson for rationale 3 and rationale 6 and rationale 8. I don't want a hyperlink 3 times. Plus, that's a waste of your time too. You just reference it in all 3 of those.
Can you turn the computer around? So I don't turn on that. So if I put like management plan, taught unit, stuff like that, and then like I have a separate one for lesson plans and label them, and in my rationale said, this is found in this lesson, when you go click on whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Because basically, what some students have figured out is you really can't organize your portfolio by standards. Because it's holistic.
Yeah.
So lots of people put all their rationales together, and then their unit, and then their video, and then their logs, and then, you see what I'm saying? So they kind of group like things together. Because, I mean, because we've stopped the old fashioned 1 and 2, you score this, 3, you score this, 4, you score this, we've stopped that. I'm supposed to look at everything and then determine where you are holistically. I'm not supposed to put blinders on and only look at this document. The old-fashioned portfolio used to have 5 assessments that you uploaded in the assessment, and all I was supposed to do is put blinders on and look at those assessments in isolation. Really hard to score standard 5. I think it's much easier to score assessments if I look at your lesson plans and your units. Does that, instead of, just, I don't want more work for you.
Right, yeah.
That's what I don't want.
In our goal, like the time, can I say I would have taught at least 2 or just 2?
By Cap 4, I will do at least this many, yes.
Okay, I didn't know if it had to be a specific number or.
Some people do like at least once a week, or, you know, at least on 4 of my formal observations, or, you know what I'm saying? They put some sort of measure on it.
And can I ask what you think is best? Cause my thing is, demonstrating their learning in different ways, like appealing to different learning styles, like I struggle with that. So should I say I'm gonna do that in 2 lessons that I teach, or?
I would do more than 2 lessons that you teach in a 16-week period of time. That's not showing growth, but I would say that at least in, at least half or more of my formal observations.
Oh,
You know, you will document in your journal the number of lessons that you tried something new. And I also told Cody, this morning, like, if you're really wanting to know if a strategy works or something like that, it's not uncommon to ask for the exit ticket for students to say, how well did you learn today based on this strategy? And then use that information as part of your
so like
documentation.
a survey too?
Yes. Well, and remember in 390 when we talked about the exit ticket prompts,
Mhm.
one of them was focusing on an instructional strategy and how well did kids learn based on that strategy. So there's nothing wrong. If you don't need a data today, but you want to know how the strategy worked, then that's what exit ticket, and I would use that data
Okay,
to assess my professional growth goal.
okay.
Yeah. I'm just gonna do this. They're in ABC order, so I'm just gonna go through here and get tables where I'm at instead of walking all over this place.
I'm just gonna do it at home.
Y'all have any tech questions? The tech dudes are here. The Geek Squad's here.
That's right.
I love it. Do you think I don't notice things? Okay, can I give y'all some whole class feedback? The rows that had the lowest, like numbers, like one, had 1s and 2s in them, the top box, especially if your philosophy did not state whether you were an essentialist, a perennialist, or progressivist, or a humanist, your philosophy had gaps. Or some of the time I couldn't find whether you were student-centered or teacher-centered or facilitator or this or that and the other. Sometimes I couldn't find what theorist you were basing everything on. You just talked, you never really specifically went there. So in order to get a 3 or a 4 there, I really had to see all 3 of them well. The other one was APA. Guys, there are some APA issues. Some of you are not citing in text. And I know all of those are not your ideas. So if you get something from a resource, you have to cite it in text. It's the author, comma, date, the year. Now listen, here's where it gets tricky. If you paraphrase and put it in your own words, that's all you need. Author, comma, year. If you quote it directly and put quotes on it, you need page number. So like author, comma, year, comma, page 176, parentheses. So the only, and I couldn't tell some of the time because you kept going back and forth between a page number and no page number. You need to know when to use the page number and when not to. Okay? On the references page, some of you, I saw in-text things but didn't see them on the resource page. Okay? Or I saw things on the resource page that I didn't see in text. Also, the reference page should be single spaced within the entries and double spaced in between. Some of you, you need to put the hanging indent on the second line, not the first line. So the first line goes all the way to the left-hand margin, and then any second line goes 5 spaces over, or, you know what I mean by hanging indent? The thing I thought could have been better some of the time is you all are not really telling me how you're going to implement these. You tell me what the procedures are, but you're very vague as to how you're going to teach them. How are you going to implement and teach those? You can't just say, I'm going to do it on the first day of school. That's very general. If you wanted to move from 3 to 4, you really need to be very specific about how you were going to teach those procedures. Some of you are still not addressing severe behavior. I think it's because you all are P5, but don't think you won't have it. So you do need to address serious behavior, different levels of behavior. But if you have any specific questions, those are just general. I'm not pointing anybody or any class specifically. Those are just general comments that I saw as a result of grading.
Do you want us to revise for some of these issues before we submit this?
That's up to you.
portfolio?
You can either, it's like, you know, I have a children's book called Thanks for the Feedback. Sometimes people don't understand how to take feedback, kids and adults alike. My girls say, Mom, just say thank you and go on. I have trouble taking compliments or whatever, okay? So you can either take that feedback and address those issues before you upload, or you can just say, okay, I'm good with this the way it is, and go with it. That's going to be a totally you thing. Because feedback is just that, it's information. You can either take the information, or you cannot. Or you can take bits and pieces of it. It's whichever one. It's totally up to you, Patrick. Make sense?
Well, because our portfolio grade won't necessarily come from our score on the management plan.
No. Well, and management plan may go in, most of the time it's gonna go in standard 3, but it can go in other standards as well, especially if you're planning a lesson and you're managing the environment. And just because that grade does not determine whether you get, what number you'll get on your portfolio, because they're looking for more than just the management plan. Whereas the old stuff, they would have just read your management plan and scored 3 and never looked at it again. Not anymore. Holistically, they're gonna look at all of this, does not indicate portfolio. And portfolio score does not enter into the grade on this class.
Okay.
I keep Cat 3 and 414 separate. So nothing on the portfolio is gonna factor into this class grade. Okay? Okay. Did you put it under content knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Well, you will work to pass all of your practice exams. Okay, and there are, things you need to do there. You can also look at your scores when you're formally observed as to how they rate your content knowledge in standards 4 and 5 when you're formally observed. Those kind of things. might wanna put some action steps into there, you know, like how, you know, what are you gonna do?
This is the thing I was talking about yesterday. Is that
That's EBSB form.
Okay.
That's EBSB form.
That's where you print it off where it says you have 200 hours. That's where you have all of your different things. So I guess that's what you have.
Yeah, now make sure you put like, is that,
Yeah, so that came
what standard is it, learning development, so that's standard one? Okay, so what is this, 1A, 1B, 1C?
I just showed you that later.
Alright, this says indicator level. Really, you have to go to the indicator, which is on the in-class documents that I gave you at the beginning of the, so you need indicator level, like 1B, 1D, 1. Well, actually, it's a full sheet, and there's, performances, knowledge, dispositions. It was color coded, 3 colors. Each standard had a page to excel. Okay, on Thursday, once again, I will simply be here, I will help, I will answer questions, point you in directions. This is, I block this week off every semester to help. I'm just a resource right now, okay? And I'm an evaluator, so you can pick my brain as to, I can tell you I score like everybody else scores, but I am an evaluator, so I can kind of tell you how I score. Okay? Jessica, do you care to punch that red button there so that it stops recording?
Stand just like that, so when it stops, you're pointing at it.